Natural numbers. Yes, let's see what natural numbers are. Don't see it as a big deal. There is nothing here. Don't see it as something so big, so special. So it is something that you deal with in your everyday life. Yes, natural numbers. In fact, even hear the word natural. So that means it is not artificial. It's something that nature brings to us. We deal with it naturally in our daily life. So remember when you were still a kid, when you were starting up as a kid, when you are learning counting, when your teacher will say, okay, how many items do we have on the table? They will ask you to count, like how many mangoes do we have in a basket? Or how many books do we have in your bag? Or how many stones do we have on the table? So how do you count? What number do you start with? Of course, you are going to say 1, 2, 3, and you go like that. So those numbers that you just mentioned are what mathematicians called natural number. That's what they call natural numbers. That is, numbers that we use to count. You can see that when I wanted to count the items that I have on my table, I did not start with 0. That's because 0 is not among them. So you cannot want to count and say 0, 1, 2. It doesn't make sense. In fact, you cannot want to count and say -1, -2. Negative numbers are not among them. In fact, decimals are not there. 1.2, they are not. So next time when you hear natural numbers, just remember that natural numbers are what? Counting numbers. Let's put it down. Natural numbers are counting numbers. That is numbers that we use to count. So let's give examples. So the smallest natural number that you should know is 1. This is the smallest. There is nothing smaller than this among the natural number. Followed by 2, 3, 4, 5, and it continues like that infinitely. That is, we cannot get to the end of natural numbers. If you say you want to get to the end, the person will die on it. In fact, you will be buried, you are still counting. In fact, you will be resurrected by God in the day of judgment, you are still counting. If possible, you will come back to this life again, you are still counting. You can't get to the end. If you say billion is the end, what about trillion? What about quadrillion? What about quintillion? What about sextillion, septillion, octillion, and so on? You can't get to the end. Okay, to cut the story short, you need to know that the smallest natural number is 1. And you should know that there is no biggest natural number, no end. That's why we put this dot, dot, dot. This dot, 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 in mathematics, we call it suspension points. We call them suspension points. It indicates continuity, that this set continues like that. Now, conventionally, universally in the mathematical world, the set of natural numbers can be represented with capital letter N. This is the set of natural numbers. And again, so if you want to represent it in a more mathematical way, I will just open this type of bracket and write all this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So these are natural numbers because we can't get to the end. This type of bracket that you are seeing here, we call it curly brackets. Curly brackets. Or you call it braces. Braces. So that's what we use to represent sets. So that's what we use to represent sets in mathematics. So we don't use this type of bracket to represent set. It's wrong. So apart from all this that I have said, another thing that you need to know about natural numbers is that they are so magical that if you add 2 natural numbers together, the result is always a natural number. For example, if I pick 2 plus 5, 2 plus 4, that will give me 6. 6 is another natural number. Similarly, if I multiply 2 natural numbers, I will still get another natural number. For example, 2 times 4, this will give me 8. So that is how it works. But if you use operation subtraction and division, it may give you natural number and it may not. For example, If you have 2 minus 4, this will give you negative 2, which is not a natural number. Similarly, 2 divided by 4 will give you 0.5. This is also not a natural number. It means subtraction and division are not always closed under this set of natural numbers. So another thing that you need to know about natural numbers is that they can further be divided into the following. Natural numbers can further be divided into odd numbers, even numbers, prime numbers, and composite numbers. So odd numbers are numbers that cannot be divided by 2. While even numbers are, examples of odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and so on. But talking about even numbers, these are numbers that can be divided by 2. A good example is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. Then prime numbers are numbers that only have 1 and itself as a factor. They can only be divided by 1 and themselves. Examples are 2, 3, 5, 7. So we still have another video coming up on all of these. So I don't want to waste time on this. So let's continue. Then composite numbers are numbers that have more than 2 factors. For example, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, and so on. So in my subsequent video, I'm still going to talk about these ones. So, but for now, let's hold on to natural numbers the way it is. Thank you.